And joining us now is a beautiful woman we know best from her role in the long-running TV series Heart to Heart. She's also, yay, the audience is saying. She's also an avid horse rider. And like so many, an admirer of Christopher Reeve. Please welcome Stefanie Powers to the show. Thank you for being here. It's great to see you again. Stefanie, do you do the kind of eventing that Christopher Reeve was doing when he got injured?
I've been riding all my life, but most of the time my sport is polo, which is also an extreme test. It's also extremely fast. It's a game that has a very small ball, and you have 4 reins and a whip in one hand, a mallet in the other. You run down a field as fast as you can with 7 other maniacs chasing you. And that's more or less the game.
That seems to be a component in people who enjoy the sport, that there is a built-in competitiveness with yourself, and with others. But that does seem to be the kind of person that's attracted to the sport.
But overall, there's an overwhelming love and respect for the animal. And for those of us who love horses, and for those of us who enjoy the test of an extremely competitive sport, cross country. I've done a little bit of cross country, but I certainly could never have considered myself to be skilled at it. I've done a little bit of jumping. I continue to do a little bit of jumping. I was going to be in the Hampton Classic this year, but I'm working, so
Well, now let me ask you about that. Are there people who have said, wow, this is a wake-up call for me, I'm going to back off, maybe I won't do the jumping?
I'm sure there have been, Leeza, and as we discussed backstage, you know, it's one of those terrible things. You're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. We know that that any time you test yourself or you go into a circumstance where there is more risk than normal, that you run a risk. Clearly with horses, this is a 1,200-pound or more animal. They are animals of flight. It's very important to understand what that means. They are not animals of prey, obviously. They are animals of flight. That means that their eyes are set far back into their skulls, as most animals of flight are, animals that run away from the predator. They also have an ability to see out of either eye in all directions, simultaneously, interpreting by the use of both sides of their brains. They do that. And they can be, therefore, spooked, as animals, most animals of flight are. They're
Is that
very
what you
aware.
think may have happened on this jump?
No, I'm not suggesting that this happened, but I'm saying that as you were saying earlier, which was so right. There is a moment when, you know, you have to get into. Every great trainer tells you you have to think like the horse. You have to be involved with the horse, and otherwise, unless you are able to anticipate, you are going to have a problem. The other thing that is a disaster is for anybody with any fear or anticipation to get on a high-performance horse.
Well, was Christopher Reeve a fearful rider, Leeza?
No, he wasn't a fearful rider, but he was an anticipating rider, as all novice people are anticipating, because he hasn't had the mileage and the experience to have been through it all, to know every different situation and how he's going to conduct himself according to the situation. He hasn't done it enough to know what am I going to do proper when this occasion arises, and he hadn't done it enough.
Stefanie, if he had been a lighter man, was it a disadvantage that he was so tall and so heavy? Does that make a fall more potentially devastating?
The center of gravity is obviously different. You know, he's tall. He has a lot of weight above the waist, meaning that although he was long-legged as well and he was gripping the horse very well, there's a lot of weight in his shoulders. So I think it's fair enough to say that some of the quickest, fastest, most skilled polo players are very small people.
Right.
An awful lot of the hunter jumpers are small people. You present a tighter package. So obviously, the bigger you are, you know, it's just a different kind of center of balance.
I think it's been a really beautiful compliment and says a lot about who Christopher Reeve is, to watch the people in your business, the Hollywood community, and watch their response and their reaction to this accident. And the support, some of it subtle and some of it more overt for this man who was so well respected.
I think it's fair enough to say that Chris Reeve is the right kind of human being to represent the Hollywood community. He represents decency, honesty, clarity, and some good old wholesome values. To say, I mean, this is as a human being, but also as a representative of our industry. He is stellar. And I think that everybody has been trying to send him as all the well wishes they possibly can. But indeed, I was in Long Island with a whole barn of jumping horse people and riding some tall horses as well over the weekend of that, the same weekend that he was injured. And we all think about it, we all talk about it. We all were talking about some injuries that had occurred recently to some other people. And curiously enough, I was informed of a professional polo player who was injured coming off the ground. He had played a game, he was coming off the ground in Brunei, playing for the Sultan of Brunei. I don't know what happened exactly, the horse tripped, he's a quadriplegic. This happened a few weeks ago. Less than 10 days ago, a friend of mine was walking horses down some trails at Will Rogers with her groom and stable manager behind her. Something so simple as a branch of a tree, which hadn't been cut or whatever, swooped her off her horse. She fell on her neck, and she's paralyzed from the waist up. These are things that happen.
And things that, as you say, those of you who are in the sport know that those odds are there. And people in the medical community will tell you that the odds of someone like Christopher Reeve having sustained the injury that he has, the odds of him walking again are slim. Well, they said the same thing to my next guest. He went from this to this. Pretty incredible. Miracles can happen. His story's next. We'll be right back. Thank you, Stefanie Powers.